I asked you guys, okay, what do you want me to record today? Whatever it is, I'll post it up tomorrow. I gave you the choices of wiki reading, Reddit reading, or something random I find online. It looks like 44% shows that I'm logged in under the buttons only account right now. But yeah, obviously it wouldn't have swayed it even if I go to wiki reading 37, still something random won. So I am going to talk about this guy, actually, more importantly, sleep. Matthew Walker. I'm going to talk about sleep. Sorry if that was a confusing statement I just made. I'm going to talk about sleep as described by Matthew Walker, I believe, PhD. Some of you guys may have heard of this guy from Rogan. I actually did years ago, I think 4 or 5 years ago, maybe by now. And this guy is just, devoting his life to learning about sleep, all about it. I think he teaches out of Berkeley. I could be wrong. I think it'll say over here. We'll just kind of get into it. I feel like it's a good topic, seeing as we're all probably just trying to relax or get to sleep. I have some thoughts on this as well. I'll save them for the end. Let's just get into it. The title is Sleep Scientist Warns Against Walking Through Life in an Underslept State. So, the National Sleep Foundation recommends an average of 8 hours of sleep per night for adults, but sleep scientist Matthew Walker says that too many people are falling short of the mark. Human beings are the only species that deliberately deprive themselves of sleep for no apparent gain, Walker says. Many people walk through their lives in an underslept state, not realizing it. I wonder if I'm one of those people. I probably am. Walker is the director of the Center of Human Sleep Science at the University of California, Berkeley. There we go. He points out that lack of sleep, defined as 6 hours or fewer, yep, I am in the lack for right now, I'm in the lacking group, can have serious consequences. I knew it. Sleep deficiency is associated with problems in concentration, memory, and the immune system, and may even shorten lifespan. This is actually why I want to talk about it. The main reason is because it is shocking to hear about how the lack of sleep messes up your immune system really bad, or I should say compromises it, and yeah, shortens lifespan, all sorts of diseases. I hope they actually cover this. If not, I'll save it for a later date or dig a little bit deeper after we're done reading this article so I can talk about that, and I'll continue. Every disease that is killing us in developed nations has causal and significant links to a lack of sleep, he says. So that classic maxim that you may have heard, that you can sleep when you're dead, it's actually mortally unwise advice from a very serious standpoint. Walker discusses the importance of sleep and offers strategies for getting the recommended 8 hours in his new book, Why We Sleep. I actually bought the audiobook. It's fantastic. Highlights of the interview on what you should do if you can't sleep. Sorry, I should separate that. Interview highlights. The first highlight is on what you should do if you can't sleep. You should not actually stay in bed for very long awake because your brain is this remarkably associative device, and it quickly learns that the bed is about being awake. So you should go to another room, a room that's dim. Just read a book, no screens, no phones, and only when you're sleepy return to the bed, and that way your brain relearns the association with your bedroom being about sleep rather than wakefulness. I wonder where ASMR plays into this, because I find that it puts me to sleep right away, and that's on my phone, Another thing that people can do if you don't want to get up and go to a different room is actually try meditating. I've done that, it works. Being quite a stoic, hard-nosed scientist, I actually didn't really believe the data about meditation as a sleep aid, even though the data is very strong, and I started doing it myself, particularly when I was traveling with jet lag, and I found it to be very effective. Yeah, I agree with that statement. Meditating is awesome. I haven't done it in years, but it's very, very powerful if you actually get into it. And like he was saying, I looked at it with a cynical mind as well. I was studying electrical engineering at the time, different, what's it called? Disciplines. Did he say engineering? whatever it was. All I'm saying is I was looking at it from a serious standpoint as well, and lo and behold, the meditation worked even through my bullheadedness. I'll continue. It just quiets the mind, and it dampens down what we call the fight or flight branch of the nervous system, which is one of the key features of insomnia, and that can really have some efficacious benefits too. So that's another solution if people would choose not to go to a different room. On whether you can make up for sleep deficit by sleeping longer another day. You're trying to sleep off a debt that you've lumbered your brain and body with during the week, and wouldn't it be lovely if sleep worked like that? Sadly, it doesn't. Sleep is not like the bank, so you can't accumulate a debt and then try and pay it off at a later point in time. Damn it. And the reason is this. We know that if I were to deprive you of sleep for an entire night, take away 8 hours, and then in the subsequent night I give you all of the sleep that you want, however much you wish to consume, you never get back all that you lost. You will sleep longer, but you will never achieve that full 8-hour repayment, as it were. So the brain has no capacity to get back that lost sleep that you've been lumbering it with during the week in terms of a debt. This is such a strange topic, and I forgot if he actually addresses the metrics with which he gauged those findings, because like he says, he very succinctly says, we know that if I were to deprive you of sleep for an entire night, take away 8 hours, and he continues, this dude is being literal when he says that, and literal in the literal sense, not the figurative state. This dude at his sleep clinic will deprive people of sleep. That's a part. I just banged the microphone really hard because I'm passionate about this. I hope there's no vibrations in your ear. I'm gonna have to edit the hell out of that. It's still going. Sorry. I'll continue. Where was I? Okay. Yeah, this guy will do everything necessary to get the findings, the readings that not that he's looking for, because it's unbiased, just the findings, the results, whatever they are. I don't know what the metrics are that he's actually using to determine that you can't get the sleep back. Obviously, time travel isn't a thing, so when we're just looking at it logically or very black and white, duh. I slept for 3 hours. That was yesterday. Today is today. I can't go back in time and get my 5 hours. So from that very literal point, yeah, you can't get it back. But from a biological point, I'm curious what he's talking about when we get down to our body's regenerative properties. I know HGH, growth hormone, is secreted by the pituitary gland when we hit REM sleep, and that's largely responsible for repairing all the damage that we've done to our body over the day, as well as helps your brain remember things. I believe that's another function, though. That's not HGH. It's just something that's activated in REM sleep. But I don't know, like I'm saying, I don't know how he is gauging that the, let's say, damage that was caused by the lack of sleep the night before was or was not remedied, repaired, or just helped on the next night if we do, say, get 10 or 12 hours of sleep. I don't know if I'm a freak or anything. I'd love to get a simple comment from you guys. How many hours do you sleep? I want to know what's normal, especially in an ASMR group. That would be crazy. What are we going to see? Are we going to see really small numbers from the insomnia group that still has to have a day job? Or are we going to see really, really long numbers? Do you just use me to finally get to sleep? But then once you do get to sleep, you sleep for 12 hours because, hey man, if it's Saturday or Sunday, that's me. I have a blessed life in that I don't have many responsibilities. I've tried, if I'm being honest with you, semi-hard to make it that way, and I really like it. But, yeah, I'm waiting for vehicles really quick. Okay, those went away. Yeah, I'm fortunate in that regard that I do not have responsibilities to the point that would warrant me getting up out of bed. I'm like a spoiled asshole when I think of it, but hey, I'm very fortunate. What can I say? I feel great after 12 hours of sleep, dude. Like, do I even need to say that? Or are there people that feel like shit after 12 hours of sleep. Is there anyone out there that, like, especially if you're active or inactive, hell, I don't care, you get 12 hours of sleep, do you feel like shit or do you feel good? I'm so curious about your sleeping habits, or sleep hygiene, rather, is what I'm curious about. Anyway, on whether you can, oh, I just read about that. Yeah, so I want to know what his metrics were for that. On letting teenagers sleep on weekends, parents will often pull the covers off of their teenager on weekends and say, it's daylight out, it's noon, you're wasting the day. And that's wrong for two reasons. It's not their fault, it's their biology that wants them to be asleep at that time. But it's more than that, because it also turns out that they are trying to sleep off a debt that we have actually saddled them with by the way of this incessant model of early school start times. We have to abandon that attitude, and we also have to change the educational practice as well. I agree. I love it. I was really fortunate. My dad and stepmom let me sleep to whatever times. You guys ever sleep till 3 p.m., dude? Come on, like the best hours are between 3 a.m. and 3 p.m. Am I right? Everyone's just gonna leave you alone. You do whatever you want. It's nobody's calling you at 3 a.m. You can work on projects, you play video games, all the night owls are up. You go outside, it's only you. You're the only person around. 3 a.m. to 3 p.m. I'm telling you, man, it's prime time. Is it healthy? Nah. Is it fun? Yeah. Those are my hours when I'm not, like, when I don't have a day job. Anyway, on how the quantity and quality of sleep decreases with age. The amount of sleep, by the way, I'm just going to say it's 2 a.m. right now, and I don't know if you can hear all this traffic, but this is nonsensical. I'm going to start a Kickstarter to get me a soundproof booth. That's what I'm going to do. On how the quantity and quality of sleep decreases with age. The amount of sleep, the total amount of sleep that you get, starts to decrease the older that we get. I think one of the myths out there, this is me, I'm still talking, quoting him, I think one of the myths out there is that we simply need less sleep as we age, and that's not true. In fact, we need just as much sleep in our 60s, 70s, and 80s as we do when we're in our 40s. It's simply that it's simply that the brain is not capable of generating that sleep, which it still needs, and the body still needs. So total amount of sleep actually decreases. We also know that the continuity of sleep also starts to fall apart. Sleep becomes much more fragmented. There are many more awakenings throughout the night, pain, bathroom trips, etc. But we also know that it's not the quantity of sleep that changes with aging, it's also the quality of sleep. It seems to be particularly the deepest stage of sleep, something that we call non-rapid eye movement sleep, or non-REM sleep. The very deepest stages of non-REM sleep. I've never even heard of that. That's crazy. Those are selectively eroded. Hold on, helicopter. Nah, it should be fine. Those are selectively eroded by the aging process. By the time you're in your 50s, you've perhaps lost almost 40 to 50% of that deep sleep you were having, for example, when you were a teenager. By age 70, you may have lost almost 90% of that deep sleep on using sleeping pills like Ambien to sleep. Unfortunately, the current set or classes of sleeping pills that we have do not produce naturalistic sleep. So they are all a broad set of chemicals that we call the sedative hypnotics. And sedation is not sleep. It's very different. It doesn't give you the restorative natural benefits of sleep. If you look at the electrical signature of sleep that you have when you're taking those medications, it's not the same as a normal night of sleep. And I can attest to that. This is me, David, I'm talking now. I can attest to that. I've used... Okay, look, one day, I forgot who was it? You never comment. You commented one time, and it was a brilliant comment. You asked me to tell you about my Vegas story. And I'm going to reference you again. I'm sorry, my friend, I forgot your name. Like I said, you don't comment much, but the one comment that you left, yeah, it struck a chord, because I do need to bring up the Vegas story and why I was in Vegas. You were referencing the time that I had to save up a bunch of money and just put down a room on an apartment where I just slept for 6 months, and my only entertainment were the books and DVDs that I rented from the library. And there was a reason I was doing it. There's a reason that that is hand in hand with the reason I put this channel out, was something that happened years ago, and my own findings on sleep. Yeah, one day I will talk about them. It's a pretty big deal for me. It involves a lot of things, and I will absolutely love telling the story. I just need to tell it at a certain time is all. I had to clear my throat. Hold on. Yeah, but what I was going to say is during that time, and sometimes before then, I experimented with various sleeping things, you know, Tylenol PM or Advil PM. I heavily abused that, and then I found out I may have given myself irreparable liver damage after the fact. I feel good, so hopefully that's not the case. But yeah, I tried that, and then I tried melatonin as well. And even though melatonin is supposed to be a natural remedy, you know, I found that I was not as well rested upon awakening as when I just used completely natural, nothing, sleep, just really, if I'm being honest, running, exercising my ass off during the day, making it to where I could not stand upright. That put me to sleep right away, and my quality of sleep was incredible. And you know what else I found is, after I got into the swing of things, like really started running or just walking, not even running, but walking 3, 4, or 5 miles a day, and built up my muscles to make it easier on me, specifically leg muscles, obviously. I'm getting beside the point. I required what I felt to be less sleep, so I would get in the swing of things. Not at the beginning. When I first started running and walking, I slept like 10 or 11 hours because I needed to repair myself. But then, after doing that shit for like 6 weeks, all of my muscles had built from just the repetition of doing it over and over again, to where it didn't really bug me that much. You know, I was like, yeah, I can do this nonstop. And then I would go to sleep, and I would sleep for like 7 hours, 6.5, 7 hours, and boom, I was up right away. Like I didn't require the sleep. It was really crazy. I don't know if my diet played into it. It probably did. I was doing low carb, high protein, pretty much my standard diet. But I do find that when I ditch dairy and sugar, I sleep like a baby as soon as I introduce the sugar and the dairy, especially in the evening. I get phlegmy, it obstructs my passageways, and it's something about the sugar makes me all jittery. It just fucks up my sleep really bad. I can't have ice cream at night anymore, obviously. Helicopter, hold on. Sorry, motorcycle, I should say. Alright, let's move on, or I'm never gonna get through this. How much is left, actually? Oh, we're at the end of it. Okay, very cool. That's a motorcycle, by the way, not a helicopter. Okay, on how caffeine affects sleep. I'm sorry, it's not going away. It sounds like the motorcycle is actually at the red light. I gotta wait for it. Let's pray for the best. On how caffeine affects sleep. First and most obvious for some people is that it stops you falling asleep. Some people, however, say, I can have a cup of coffee after dinner and I fall asleep just fine, so I'm not one of those people that is sensitive to caffeine. And that's quite dangerous, because we also know that even if you can fall asleep, the depth of the sleep that you have when caffeine is swilling around within the brain is not going to be as deep anymore. So people may wake up the next morning, they'll feel unrefreshed, they'll start to reach for the coffee pot earlier, they'll drink more caffeine, never having realized that it was the cup of coffee last night that has left you feeling underslept because they didn't wake up during the night. They didn't have problems falling asleep, but caffeine can still have that deleterious impact on alcohol's effect on sleep. Lastly, alcohol is a sedative drug, and what you're doing there is simply knocking yourself out. You are removing consciousness quickly from the brain by way of having alcohol, but you're not putting yourself into naturalistic sleep. The other issue is that alcohol will fragment your sleep. It will litter it and punctuate it with many more awakenings throughout the night, so short that you tend not to remember them. So once again, you're not quite aware of how bad your sleep was when you had alcohol in the system. The final aspect of alcohol is that it is very good at blocking your REM sleep, or your dream sleep, which is critical for aspects of mental health within the brain and emotional restitution too. So alcohol is very misunderstood when it comes to sleep, not helpful. And that's all. And speaking of that, I don't know if you can see that on the screen. Probably not, because I shrank it. It's 2:40 a.m. I don't know. Like I said, it's almost 3. And I have a engineering job that I do every single day. And what am I doing? I need to get to sleep right now. What I was looking for before, however, were the things in the audiobook and on the Rogan podcast. I just listened to his Rogan interview. It was absolutely fantastic. It's one of the best ones ever, if I'm being honest. And I've heard, anyway, yeah, Matthew Walker, listen to his Rogan episode. Sleep helps fight cancer. That was the big takeaway, is the more sleep you get, the better your immune system and your overall body's going to be, and you're going to be helping your body ward off a host of diseases, and namely the one that scares most people is cancer. So yeah, that's included in the list of diseases and ailments that could get you or mess with you if you are not getting enough sleep. Obviously there's other factors that go into it, but he goes into detail how all-cause mortality is directly related to sleep or lack thereof. All-cause being heart disease, cancer, stroke, and arterial sclerosis, I believe, which goes hand in hand with heart disease, and just other, dementia. Dude, you gotta listen to that that podcast, or go ahead and get Matthew Walker's Why We Sleep. That's all I got. That was the random. It wasn't too random. I'll try to do better next time, but hopefully you guys are asleep, right? Okay, I'll talk to you guys in the comments. Sleep well.